Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. My name is Jacob Coleshaw, Sam Yuko, Charlie Zazera on today's episode to talk Watford 1, Ipswich Town 2, and then we're going to preview the Preston game at the weekend with a little bit of Watford news sandwiched in between. Sam, how you getting on, mate?
I'm all good, thank you. Yeah, it's all nice, the festive period, the amount of games that Watford have at the moment and the amount of football generally. So I'm all good. I'm enjoying it. How are you, Jacob?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. Christmas do in full swing. Charlie, if you could take one Watford player, past or present, to your Christmas work do, who would it be and why?
Instantly thinking Porto for present. I think it'd be a good crack.
You reckon?
Yeah. I'm thinking karaoke. I'm thinking dancing. Porto I reckon's a good crack. So interesting to see what the Watford players, if they're having a Christmas do. I don't know if Val would allow that, but I would love to be on the inside of that. What about you?
Do you know what? I'm thinking a little bit of Bobby Pereira for the moves. Okay. I reckon he's got a little bit of a two-step in the locker. I don't know if he'd be like he'd go wild, but I think he'd just be in the corner, just giving it a little bit of the party. Yeah. And what do you reckon?
I'm just thinking back to after we got promoted in 2015 in Oceania, and I think we spoke to him on the channel recently. I think I'd go Sean Murray, to be honest with you. I think he'd be a decent one to take out to a work Christmas do.
I can get behind that. Also, if you haven't checked out our interview with Sean, make sure you do. It's on the channel. The link should be in the description below. Lads, we'll get straight into it. Watford 1, Ipswich Town 2. A really gutting way to lose that game with a Wesley who overhit touch, loose touch with Sam Moresby slotting it past Ben Hamer and sending the Ipswich fans into absolute delirium. Sam, how did you assess that game? How did you feel walking away from Vicarage Road? Was it as gutting as I've made it out to be?
I think an element of it was quite gutting. I think we had the opportunities to win the game, and I think we probably, on reflection, should have won the game. Ipswich are flying. I think they're the best team we've played this season, to be honest with you. Better than what we saw against when we played Leicester and also Leeds and Southampton. I thought Ipswich were fantastic, and they weren't even at full pelt, I don't think. I don't think they really got out of second gear for too much of it. But that being said, I thought Watford played really, really well. I think for the playing against the team against top of the league, I think there were so many positives to take. One thing I'm enjoying with this Watford team, it's the intangibles. I think the belief's always there. I think the effort's always there. The desire's always there. And I think that the Watford crowd saw that, and it made for a fantastic atmosphere at Vicarage Road. So, look, while I was upset that we didn't get those 3 points, I still think there are a lot of positives to take. I think it's a sign of how far this Watford team have come, that we've left games against top of the league or second in the league and third in the league with 1 point, and some fans are disappointed. I think that's a marker of how far we've come.
Did we deserve a point, Charlie? Or did we deserve
it? I thought we did. I think we're missing a striker. I think we're missing that finisher. We got in really good positions. I walked away from it initially, like Sam said, something similar, like frustration. And I think that just shows how far we've come, that we can go toe-to-toe with teams like Southampton and Ipswich. And then after a bit of time, although I was frustrated, because I was thinking if we won that, it would have been a huge moment for us. I think a really big step. And I think people's opinions might be changing a bit about Watford and maybe our ambitions for the season. But we didn't do the business. We made the mistake. And Ipswich are just on absolute fire, I thought. Like Sam said, so impressive the way they build up from the back, the way they create space, their movement. But saying that, I think we troubled them throughout the game, and we had the better opportunities really. And obviously, it's just that one mistake that cost us. So, on reflection, I'm quite proud and I'm quite excited to think we've got a really decent team that is going in a positive direction.
Yeah, in the last 2 games, in back-to-back games, we played 4th in the league and 2nd in the league at the time of when we played them in Southampton and Ipswich. And I think there's been more positives to take out of both of those games than negatives. So we run through the stats from the Ipswich game. Watford had 12 shots to Ipswich 10, 3 shots on target for Watford to Ipswich's 6. Possession, which is really interesting, because in the first half, I think Ipswich were dominant in possession, but it started to even itself out a little bit more in the second half, which meant 46% for Watford, 54% for Ipswich. But overall, Sam, what was it? You mentioned intangibles there about the performance. I was really pleased with how I felt the shape was quite strong with Watford off the ball, and it was quite clear the game plan that Val tried to implement. But what was it tactically that caught your eye about this one? Because as Charlie mentioned, the way Ipswich move the ball, particularly out the back, it doesn't matter what minute is in, they play exactly the same way regardless of the situation. Yeah, tactically from a Watford point of view, what did you take away from the game?
Yeah, I'll hand over to Charlie in a minute because we were sat together and I know Charlie was really interested in particularly Ryan Porteous's position throughout the game. It looked like the Watford went man to man, and while at the time during the game it did look quite, I'd say, scary, to be honest with you, because if we were caught out or the ball was turned over, I think that would have left us very open. But it seemed to work on the whole, I thought. I think that's what really caught my eye tactically. I thought it was really brave. I think it was Valérien Ismaël sticking to his principles and going for the game, at least. And it showed real belief and intent that we can win the game rather than just putting 11 men behind the ball throughout. So I was really happy with it. I did think perhaps we could have been a bit better on the ball, particularly when turning the ball over, going through the thirds. I think we could have been a bit sharper, got the ball forward a bit quicker. But also in the second half, there was about 10-15 minutes spell where we were pushing Ipswich really, really high up the pitch. And I think everyone loved that. I think the crowd loved it as well. I think we got on Ipswich's back. And I think that's an element of where my frustration comes from with this game, because in those 10-15 minutes, I really think we should have capitalised, because I think we were the team on top at that moment.
Charlie, do you want to expand on what Sam kind of teased there?
Yeah, I'll talk about taxes. I just wanted to mention what we were talking about. I thought being in the Rookery was brilliant. Atmosphere was so good. And the second half, I thought we were a much better team in the second half. Maybe they were better in the first half. And I felt there was a real sense of kind of us building momentum, creating chances. And then that mistake, it was like just killed our energy straight away. So that was gutting. So in terms of tactics, I thought out of possession, we were excellent. Probably the best I've seen, definitely this season. Fascinating what Val did with Porto and Livermore. You saw Porto following in Ipswich's 2 number 10s in Chapman. I think it was Chapman in harness, which we've all seen Ryan Porteous, and the fact that he's been asked to do that, be that aggressive role, I think it suited him. And I can't remember too many wild tackles or him getting beat too very often. So the advantages of that high press and that man-to-man marking is when we win it back, we're instantly at their back 4, and we've taken 5 players, all their attackers out of the game. So I think Livermore was doing it, Porto was doing it, kind of Lewis was dropping in as like a free when we're defending. But I thought it was a really, really bold strategy, really high risk from Val, and it almost paid off. We saw like the first goal came from that mistake, from that high press, and I think we got into really good decisions from turnovers, but we just didn't have that quality to finish it off. I think now we've seen after that game, I saw like the Ipswich analytics account said that was the most impressive team. He's seen the way we contained them. I think now kind of people outside of Watford are going, okay, these lot are decent and doing something quite well. So I think for me, it's really exciting. And like we just said so many times, I think we spoke before the game, we just said, I'm really looking forward to this game against Ipswich. And the fact that we can come away and go, oh, we should have won. If we won, it would have been huge. I don't know, I'm just in a really good place with it. So I'm really, really liking what Val's doing.
As Charlie mentioned, ITFC Analytics, Ipswich Town Analytics, put this tweet out. He said, I thought Watford were excellent tonight and looked like a really good team. Think they've got a winner on their hands with Valérien Ismaël. Haven't seen us penned in like that on and off the ball since the Sunderland game. A bit more quality in the final third and they get something. He thought Watford's final third play and off the ball was a big strength of theirs. They applied really good pressure on the ball when it was turned over, had a compact shape on the ball to stop counters, and constantly created opportunities from wide areas. So really interesting to hear that other side and that other point of view. I guess that turnover that Charlie mentioned, Sam, goes back to the first goal that we scored through Yasser Asprilla, and it all came from the press, didn't it? I mean, it was very reminiscent almost of that. I'm trying to think which game we saw the press most of
Cardiff away, and Bayo pressed the goalkeeper, I think it was, and managed to tackle him. It was really impressive to see. I think it's exactly what Val would have planned beforehand. I think what we have seen throughout this season is that when goalkeepers do try and play out the back, we're really good at pressing them and rushing their decisions or sort of throwing them off a bit. And that's exactly what happened the other day. I thought the Ipswich goalkeeper was really impressive throughout the game. Other than that mistake, he was just so composed on the ball. And I haven't seen a goalkeeper like that since Edison, really, in terms of live, someone that composed on the ball. But we managed to capitalise really, really well. And we threw him off a bit, like I said, and we were able to capitalise. Rajovic has to score that. And I think we have to have a bigger conversation about Rajovic. I'm not going to go to him because I know it did result in a Spears goal. Lovely finish from him. But yeah, it was really, really good to see exactly what Val probably told him to do before the game pay off.
Interestingly, on Rajovic, he had that, I say chance, but he sticks his leg out in the second half and that ball gets flashed across the box. And I think that was at 1-1 at the time. Could have completely changed the course of the game. Charlie, Rajovic, conversation needs to be had. Someone summed it up on Twitter by saying he does, when you weigh up sort of what he gives and what he doesn't give probably outweighs what he gives. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I think in recent games he's actually improved the stuff that people think are his weakened in terms of link-up play, pressing as well. Like he seems a bit more mobile when he first come. But yeah, I don't think he's the one who's going to send us to get us promotion. I saw a really good tweet, someone saying a good solution may be Bio against the bigger teams when we need to be better off the ball, chasing down, pressing, and maybe Rayo against the teams who are going to put more of a low block against us and we can get crosses in. I think, what do we pay for him? £1 million. That's exactly what you get, kind of money's worth. That's why it was £1 million. I think he's a good character. I think his positioning's good. I think he's useful and he's a good player to have in the squad. I just don't think he's that player who can take us to the next level. And for me, I think if we're serious about making this season a memorable one, we need to be looking in January and going, can we find a clinical striker from somewhere who's going to score goals? Because if we put a clinical striker like an Armstrong, like Sammy Smodics or someone like that in this team who scores goals, I think we'll get a lot more results.
This is what I tweeted out, Sam. So I said, credit to Ishmael. He's made Watford enjoyable to watch again. Now he needs some help in January. And people replied to me saying a goalkeeper, a centre mid, a left back. There was a shout for a box-to-box midfielder. But goalkeeper and striker are the two that keep popping up. I know we've mentioned this on the streams before, but has that changed for you in sort of approaching January? Charlie mentioned they're potentially bringing in another striker.
Yeah, I remember last season, that was that Slaven Bilic put up 3 fingers in his press conference. I can't remember which positions he said. I think he said striker, winger, and a central midfielder. I can't remember too much, but for me, it's 3 positions again. Goalkeeper has to come in. I think Ben Haim has done okay since he's come in, but I don't think either goalkeeper's good enough. Central midfielder, I think Livermore came in, had a decent game back, but I think that drop off between Livermore to Giaretta, nothing against Giaretta, but you can tell he's not a midfielder, I think, and a striker as well. I think those 3 positions are absolutely crucial. I think those shouts for a left back, I think were a bit harsh, because I know Lewis had a bit of a poor game the other day, but he was actually starting to grow on me. I think his performances have improved on the whole recently. Over the last 5 or 6 games, I think we're seeing why he was so highly rated at Norwich and why Newcastle bought him. But I think those 3 positions, goalkeeper, central midfielder, and a striker, I think are crucial.
A 5 players Watford should sign in January video. So if anyone's got any ideas or priority for which positions, I can send them in. But yeah, we'll try and get that video early in the new year.
Someone asked me the question. I'll ask both of you this, because I've been quite clear that it's goalkeeper, centre mid, striker. If you could only pick one of those positions to prioritise, who would it be?
It's a good question, Sam.
I think striker. I think striker takes another level. Yeah. Personally, I think it's the one position that you think. I think Rajovic is. I've almost come to the conclusion that Rajovic could be that impact sub we bring on as a sort of like with 25 minutes to go, as similar to what Bio's doing at the minute, and then you can rotate it. If we had a guy who's exactly the way Val wants to play, someone who strikes me straight away, someone like Kiefer Moore, I think he then brings those 2 wingers into the game a little bit more. That's the only thing I think.
What about Reece Healey? Is he not a solution?
I think he is. I just don't think he'll play. Do we think that Val's going to give him that chance? I mean, even when, let's be honest here, it was almost set for him to play midweek. He didn't after coming on and scoring. If he's not going to come on at that point, is he ever going to come on and start? I think Val's made it very clear about what he thinks going forward with Healey. I think striker's the one that could take us from sort of in and around the playoff positions to actually giving us a real good chance of being there at the end of the season for me. Charlie?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. We'll come up with some ideas, goalkeeper as well. But one thing I wanted to mention on the Ipswich game was our set pieces, attacking and defending. It felt like I might be chatting rubbish here, but it felt like we were better defensively and they didn't have as many chances. I don't know how many goals Ipswich have scored from corners, and in the same breath, I thought attacking corners, I thought we looked quite threatening. There are quite a few boxes that flashed across, like Sema put in some really quick deliveries. And I think that's got to be down to our new set piece coach who's coming this week. Is his name Gian Vio?
Yeah, Gianni Vio, who's an ex-Tottenham Hotspur set-piece coach, is now part of Watford's backroom team. He's been working for around 3 weeks advising Watford on attacking and defending set pieces. Long overdue, would we say? Particularly defending.
Yeah, it's smart. It's like the club of area we've identified an area of weakness and addressed it. And yeah, it's funny actually because he's quite well regarded, isn't he? He worked with Conte at Tottenham. So the fact that we can bring him in seems like quite a really good move. I know like another coach has just gone to Nottingham Forest for set pieces as well. So it's an important part of the game, and it could be the difference between us being mid-table and playoffs if we, do you know what I mean, score 5 more goals and concede 5 less goals from corners. So good move from the club, good signs.
Yeah, absolutely. You can already see the impact. I just wanted to go back there was a bit of chat about the left-back position. And Sam, you mentioned Jamal Lewis there. Now, I wanted to come back to it just to play devil's advocate for people who maybe spotted Lewis's performance a little bit more and maybe critiqued it. They would argue defensively, Lewis has struggled. Going forward, there's no problems. You can tell when he gets going, when he gets his legs going, he's got that pace to overlap. It's going that way and backwards that we're struggling. And the way he set off Amari Hutchinson for the goal was poor defending. What would you say to those people who would be arguing that?
I think I agree. I think he had a really poor game against Ipswich. I think he's got to do better, particularly with the first goal. I watched it back and it was just so soft. You could see at the time in the ground, just show a bit more aggression as a whole. And I think that's a bit one of the criticisms I have of the Watford team at the moment. While it's improving, I think a lot of players need to be a bit more aggressive and stand their ground a bit more during games.
Did Hamer do better for the goal?
Hamer, I thought it was a great save for the goal.
It got a deflection, didn't it?
It was quite central. I don't know. It felt a bit.
I think if it hadn't have got a deflection, I'd probably be questioning him a little bit more, personally. I think maybe that slight deflection probably had to adjust his body.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good save, actually, from Hamer there. But I don't know, personally for me, I think Lewis, I was really critical at the start. He didn't have the best start, but I think he's just been growing in confidence and getting better by the week. And I know, for those who can't see, Charlie's just got a cup of tea as well.
Delivered, by the way. Not even that to make it himself.
Just missing the biscuits.
Is the milk no sugar?
Milk and a little sweetener. Sorry.
Well, we didn't get that at Charlie's cafe bar football. Charlie just went for the standard. Sorry, go on there. Sorry,
Love that. No, I think Lewis is growing on me. I just hope this is sort of one step back, and hopefully he can be back at it against Preston at the weekend.
Just on
should he have scored? Like, looking at, I haven't watched the highlights back yet. It felt like he should have scored. He made a brilliant underlapping run. Just didn't catch. He looked like a left back trying to shoot, didn't he?
Yeah, Kiambi should have scored as well. I thought this is what I mean. Why I don't personally think we deserve the point, because we have the opportunities to win the game. You don't take them in football. You make mistakes like Hoot did, and you cost yourself the points ultimately.
Should we touch on the second goal for Ipswich? I watched it back about 10 times. I put myself through it, and I was getting it on the big screen. I just want to stop it right there. A few things I took away from it. The first of which was Kiembe playing that pass initially was the wrong choice of pass. Easy to say it now, but when you've got players surrounding you, played it back to who then had 2 Ipswich players on him. I think 99% of the time, who either takes a better touch or he clears his lines. He didn't. It was a loose touch. It's then a loose lunge to try and get it back. And then as soon as that had happened, Morsey was in, and the rest is history. Charlie, what did you make of the goal?
Do you know what I made of it is, and I have seen that goal back. It's because who so kind of proactive and aggressive and front-footed, and we've seen him come out of defence quite a few times and doing it well. And I feel like in his mind, like I said about the momentum in the stadium, and it was all Watford, and I think he got it and he thought, right, let's start another attack. And his touch was too too aggressive, maybe too front-footed, and obviously nicked it. And then the fact that McKenna's got Morsey playing like Kante or someone, obviously he slots at home. And yeah, it's been a very Ipswich-orientated week for me. I've spoke a lot about them, and everyone I spoke to have just said how great they are. It was scenes in the away, and they packed out on a Tuesday night. That last late goal, fair play to them. I hope they go up instead of Leeds. And I'd love to watch them again, like free flowing. Maybe that'll happen in the derby on Saturday.
I think the most impressive thing about this Ipswich team, from my perspective, is you look at the team on paper, and I wouldn't have them down for being up there for promotion. But the way Kieran McKenna has coached this team into being such a well-oiled, well-organised, well-coached unit, and I think it's just a classic example. And this is what I guess Watford are trying to do, not in the same way, but having a clear vision from the top all the way through to the manager, the recruitment, the way they want to play. Everything is just aligned. And I think Kieran McKenna, I think there were calls for him to be the next Man United manager, but I think anyone who'd go into United would struggle based on the fact that not everyone's on the same hymn sheet there. He's gone in at Ipswich and they've completely backed the ideas and principles that he's tried to implement. Sam, just going back to the goal. We won't go over it again because we all know who's to blame, and Kiembe probably could have done better with his passing choice. But a lot of reaction about who in general after that goal. I think that's probably the nature of social media. I guess he won us the game at Hull. These things happen. Is that fair?
Yeah, football just balances itself out sometimes. You can sometimes have the highest moments, like scoring on the halfway line against Hull, giving us a massive victory, going through a fantastic run of form like he is, and then just making a mistake like he did. Look, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think he's been fantastic this season, particularly since taking the captain's armband. It's unlucky. I'm sure he'll learn from it. So yeah, keep your head up, Wes, and he'll be back.
Well, I'm sure he's watching. I think do you know what? He liked one of our match day reels on the first day of the season, but I haven't seen him since on Instagram. Mario Gaspar, funnily enough, that's the interaction of the week on the WD18 socials. Just any other standout performers, Charlie?
I thought Asprey was great.
Thoughts of him being subbed off? I thought it was a bad move from Val.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed with Tom Ince's performance. I didn't think he'd done enough when he came on. But yeah, Asprey just looked like he had that confidence, took his goal well, beating players, moving the ball across the pitch. I think we saw that there's a few links now with Premier League. His agent's been at it again, but we've got a serious player on there, and I think he's cemented that right attacking slot, and I think he's just going to get better and better, and I'm excited to see it. I was speaking with DCW after the game. We were talking about kind of his future, but I definitely want to see him another season of him. And I think the fact that he's got all these games under his belt already, his progression's kind of a bit further than João Pedro's, and we see what he's been doing at the moment. So, yeah, really, really excited. I thought Asprey played well.
I thought Andrews as well looked good. He keeps getting better and better, Andrews.
So good, rapid as well. He's so quick. Every week he just gets quicker as well. I just what a player. I know we've mentioned before how we don't really see too many academy products come through, but I think just him being one of our own, such a raw talent as well. Obviously, there's still elements to his game that can improve, but it's just amazing seeing the progression. Literally seeing him coming about this time last year in the third round of the FA Cup to now, the improvement physically as well has just been outstanding.
Do you know who he reminded me of? This is a bit of a big claim.
Go on.
There was a moment in the half where he had a foot race with one of their attackers, and his pace just got him there to the ball, and his strength. It reminded me of Cole Walker, the way he plays, and I just think.
Well, when the attacker's got a head start, and he makes it back round. So yeah.
Yeah, I think his defending's underrated. I don't think he's rash. I think 1v1 he's smart. Like he can get a tackle, can use his body. I think we've got an absolute player on there, and I think getting that contract signed is one of the best things the clubs have done in a while. So let's hope we're going to get a couple more really good seasons out of him, because I think he could go right to the very top.
5-year deal for Andrews, which his dad Wayne said on the channel that was his next aim in his career, was to get that contract locked in with Watford. One man I also wanted to mention post-match was Jake Livermore. Actually, I thought our man of the match on Tuesday was Ken Sema. I thought Ken, personally, had a really good game. Probably him then Andrews and Asprilla were probably my three standouts. Jake Livermore's post-match interview, Sam, I don't know if you caught it. Really interesting because it was honestly like it felt like a manager speaking about the performance. There was this element of frustration about the game. He read the game really well. He assessed it perfectly, but didn't go too overboard. He almost said that the players were being a little bit too emotional post-match in the dressing room. What did you make of it just when you watched it? Because I was really impressed with the way he spoke.
Yeah, two things on it. Firstly, I was going to say, can we get betting markets on Jake Livermore, next Watford manager? The way he spoke, it was fully like a post-match interview. No, it was fantastic, and I thought actually the honesty was really, really refreshing in terms of not digging out players for being too emotional in the dressing room, but trying to be as transparent as possible to us as fans, saying that, look, here's the situation in the dressing room. He didn't seem that he agreed with their way that everyone felt afterwards because he thought we played really, really well. And I thought it was really, really refreshing. I think what Livermore's offered recently over the last 6 to 8 weeks or so has been leadership. I think we lacked his leadership against Southampton at times, and the quality that he offers us as well. And I thought his interview was fantastic and really refreshing for us as supporters.
Charlie, you nodded your head very adamantly when I said that.
Yeah, it felt like one of Andrew's interviews. It felt not like a normal football interview because it felt like a conversation. It was raw, it was authentic, and I think it was smart as well, letting the fans know that the players care like that and that we're disappointed shows the ambition in the team and the characters that we've got. And I think he's been, again, apologies for our energy at the start of the season, because I think he's probably been up there, one of our most important players this season in terms of that leadership, knowing what Val wants, expectations, and then the on the pitch stuff. He's been brilliant whenever he's played. So I think we've been lucky to have him, and we need to eat some serious humble pie. So yeah, he's been great.
We're going to look ahead now quickly to Preston at the weekend. Sam is making the trip to Deepdale. Sam, just your thoughts and feelings going into that one, not only as a match-going fan, but just Watford in general.
Yeah, long day. I think it's 7 a.m. at Vicarage Road start, getting the coach up. So long day ahead. Charlie, you're going, aren't you?
Yeah, just the hour drive for me.
Yeah.
We're not going to
release Charlie's exact location. I don't know, being fans flooding outside the house.
No, it will be it's a nice day always when you get to watch football with Mr. Zazara. So the hours travel will definitely be worth it. Look, I'm excited, and that's the refreshing thing. I'm excited to watch this Watford team again. Like you said, Jacob, that Valérien Ismaël, what he's got going at the moment is still not perfect, but I think we're certainly going in the right direction. It's a really, really, really tough game at Preston. I think you could argue that it's one of the toughest tests we would have faced so far this season. They're in a really good bit of form as well. I think they must be, 5th or 6th in the league now, or just in and around the playoff spots. So really difficult game coming up. But after the victory away at Hull, the way we played at Hull, if we're at it, I think we could certainly give them a really, really good test.
Charlie, is this a must-win? Must not lose?
I don't think it's a must anything really. Let's just try and see the performances for the team. I haven't seen us win away since Wigan or Huddersfield last season. So serves me right for not going to Hull. Let's just see our team go out and play like the way they've been doing. Preston, although they're in a decent position, their form hasn't been amazing. I saw them lose against QPR and they were pretty bad. I think they beat Huddersfield at home in the week, 3-1. Rhino's a good coach. I think we should be looking for the 3 points in terms of the personnel we have and the way we've been playing, because I think I'm looking ahead to that Blackburn game on the 23rd, and that's going to be a lot tougher for me. Really 2 tough away games, so I'll definitely take 3 points out of these 2 games.
Yeah, Preston on the back of a 3-1 away win at Huddersfield in their last game. They drew to Norwich 0-0, but before that, as Charlie mentioned, they lost 3 on the bounce. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of Preston side come out, because last season they were known for either winning 1-0 or drawing 0-0. And it feels a bit more all over the place this season in terms of results. So quite a difficult one to predict. Should we do the quick predictions? I think we won all.
I think we lose this, unfortunately. I think we lose 2-1.
2-0 Watford.
2-0 Watford.
Well, what were the predictions for the Ipswich game. I think I said 2-2 draw.
I said
Yeah,
a draw.
Yeah, and I think I said a draw as well, or I said Watford win. So
Not too much faith.
I'll update the table. I started going through it recently, so we should have an update for you in the next video, hopefully.
Just to wrap up today's episode, we're going to touch on some Watford news that came out over the last week, and that is Cristiano Giaretta, Watford sporting director, leaving the football club, and Gianluca Nani. Some may know him from the start of the Pozzo era. A little bit out of the blue, actually. I mean, behind the scenes, from what we're reading, it had kind of been in the pipeline for a couple of weeks or so. But Giaretta's been an interesting figure over recent years. Someone who's, I wouldn't say divided opinion. There's been probably more negative opinions towards him than positive. Sam, quite a weird one, isn't it? Because we probably don't know how much this is going to affect us until we see it over the next season or so. It's quite hard to make a judgment, but a better question would be, how do you assess Giaretta's time at Watford overall?
Not very good, to be honest with you. I mean, how many years was he here for? 3-4 years or so, and in that time,
2020 came in
2020. So in that time, we got relegated twice and had an incredibly poor season in the Premier League. So yeah, I don't think incredibly poor season in the Championship. Sorry, I don't think you can say anything other than it was a failure. To be honest with you, I think at times it was difficult to see what his role actually was, because sort of when asking the hierarchy, when people have asked the hierarchy in interviews, who does what, it was never really clear what Giaretta's role actually was, other than just observing training, really. And I felt at times he was almost like he was spying. So no, I don't really know what him leaving is going to change, and what Gianluca Nani coming in changes either. So it'll be interesting to see. What's frustrating for me is it just looks like, again, we're making it up as we go along. I know you say it was sort of in the pipeline for a few weeks, but I thought Ben Manga leaving was to give the likes of Giaretta more power. And now Giaretta's going, so who gets that power as well? I know it's Gianluca Nani coming in, but particularly going into the January window, I'm not sure if we needed this now and coming up to such a crucial point in the season.
Well, Charlie, your initial reaction was we've just let one of the most exciting talent scouts go before we let Giaretta go in Ben Manga. It didn't really make any sense the way we've done this, really, does it?
Watford gonna Watford, aren't they? It's just let you know what we're about while the team's playing well. Yeah, my initial reaction was like Ben Manga was right there, and I just think the timing's been. There hasn't been any planning, and obviously, to be fair to Giaretta, he's left for another opportunity. In terms of Giaretta, he's quite an interesting character, because every time I went to one of the At Our Place events and he was there, I spoke to him, and he's quite personable, and I think everyone who meets him really likes him. I think Chris Wilder said he liked him. Bilic really liked him. I think obviously Gino likes him. He's a bit of a, maybe not a yes man, but he doesn't rock the boat too much, so that's why he's here and Ben Manga's here. But like Sam said, if you just look at when he's came in and Watford's form, it doesn't look too good on him. In terms of Nani getting him back, I think Gino has just looked in his phone book and gone, who's not doing a lot. I'm hoping this is a short-term option, and he's just going to help manage business in January until the end of the season, and maybe we look at another sporting director. But my biggest frustration is Ben Manga was right there, and now that opportunity's gone. So interesting, but again, does it put a bit more pressure on Val? I think in modern football now, you've seen with kind of Man United and the amount of control that Erik ten Hag has and how that's looking for them. So I do think we need a good sporting director.
Yeah, Gianluca Nani worked with Watford when the club was originally bought by the Pozzos in 2012. It's expected, according to Adam Leventhal, that he'll help Ismail recruit the targets he wants during the January transfer window. And then Watford said in the statement that he has a great familiarity with both the club and the role itself. He's been known to recently attend Watford games, and since he left the club in 2014, he had spells in the UAE and back in the UK with Reading in 2018. I guess the thing to say as well, Sam, was, as you mentioned, I think we all forget, well, I'm not going to speak on behalf of people, but I forget that Giaretta was on the ropes of leaving under Rob Edwards. You know, it was very much reported that basically when his role was under review by the Pozzos, if I remember correctly. There was discussions about whether he'd stay in his position. He then returned, and then that kind of coincided with Rob Edwards being sacked. during the first international break. Does it surprise you? I mean, I don't really know what to say anymore, really. It doesn't really surprise me, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. This has happened.
Yeah, like I said, I just think it's the timing is weird more than anything else in terms of we're still quite fresh off Ben Manga leaving and it's just before the January transfer window. So it's not surprising. It's probably the right move to move him on. I just think the time probably would have been either this summer or at the end of the season rather than just before the January transfer window, like I say. So the best of luck to Giaretta. Like Charlie says, he's off to pursue another role. I think it's probably best that him and the club part ways. I don't think he offered us too much, but best of luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Social media maestro.
he tell you what, he loves a LinkedIn post actually as well, Giaretta. He put something on. Huh?
Have you connected with him?
Oh, I actually have. Yeah, me and Cristiano Giaretta are connected on LinkedIn. So he put something on recently. It was very sort of Jake Humphrey high performance-esque, where it was something like setting a good culture is more important than appointing a good manager, which I actually thought at the time was really interesting for in terms of what Watford are trying to do. It's something along those lines, but yeah, best of luck to him.
Took a while for that to be put into system.
Yeah, practice what you preach.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing his job updates on LinkedIn. So yeah,
the weirdest connection I have on LinkedIn is Moussa Sissoko. When he joined on, I dropped him a little connect, and he's got back to me. So big up Moussa. And the one last thing to say on this is obviously Watford are most commonly known for rotating new and old head coaches, but this time they're rotating new and old sporting directors. So different step in that direction from a Pozzo point of view. But I think that's what we're going to wrap up today. Thanks so much to Sam and Charlie for joining myself to talk Ipswich, Preston, and obviously Giaretta being replaced by Gianluca Nani. Let us know what you think of all the stuff in the comment section below. If you're listening on audio, make sure to leave us a review, 5-star rating if you fancy it. That'd be amazing. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.